They're here. Yes, they are. What do we have on the table before us? We have some Great Eastern Cutlery Whittlers, number 381315. Yes, we do. And if you guys watched my traditional knife pilgrimage 4-part tour of Great Eastern Cutlery, you've been waiting for these to show up, haven't you? Wow. They are the number 38 Grinling Whittler from Great Eastern Cutlery, and boy are they special. We have one in Tidioute trim in the Gabon ebony, and then we have one in Northfield trim that's pretty special. This one not known as a Grinling Whittler, but an American Whittler, and there's a story that goes with that too. Can't wait to get into this with you and show you an exquisite traditional pocket knife. Stick with me, guys. Hi gang, Rob here. It's the evening of 6 April 2015, and this video, I don't know about you, but for me, is a highly anticipated video. We're going to take a long and detailed look at what I perceive to be a statement knife from Bill Howard and Great Eastern Cutlery. Let's fill in a little background. We are talking about the number 38 Whittler, which is a serpentine chassis, long Whittler, 3 7/8 inches long, closed, with a main clip blade 2 7/8 inches long, and 2 secondaries, a pen, and a gorgeous, precisely ground coping blade. Now, what makes these so special? Well, I'm not sure if you could get Mr. Howard to tell you this in such a glowing and complimentary way, but I think what makes them special, in order to explain that adequately, we have to go back to the guy that this one's named after. A gentleman named Grinling Gibbons, who was born in the Netherlands. We believe he had a Dutch mother and an English father. And he was known in England in the late 17th, early 18th century as the King's Woodcarver. Everything from palaces to expensive homes to churches. If it required ornate, highly precise wood carving or sometimes even stone carving, and you had the means to commission him, Grinling Gibbons was the guy you wanted to do your carvings. The nature of his work was so intricate and so precise that legend has it that a pot of flowers carved from wood that adorned the entry to his London home above the portico was known to tremble. The flowers in the pot, carved of wood, would tremble as horse-drawn carriages went by the front of the house on the cobblestone street. That's how fine and intricate and delicate they were. That becomes important as we start to talk about these knives. And we do have one in Tidioute trim, the ebony knife, which comes with, as the Howards call it, the hot dog shield, and I think you can understand why. Blades of 1095 carbon tool steel, satin finished with no etch except, did you guys watch the videos? It's got the triple P etch, and as Patty told us, with rather a scowl at young William Howard, she correctly identified this mark to mean Production Pattern Premier. PPP. Yeah, this is the first time these have run. So we have that one, and we have one in Northfield trim. This one, a special factory order by Roy Humenick, who runs a brand new website, just getting going, and the website is AmericanWhittler.com. Pretty special. Now, I mention Grinling Gibbons for good reason. Here's why. I just want you to take a look at these gorgeous split back whittlers. Look how long that main blade is. Look how it has to fit between the tangs of those secondaries. Look at the precision and the centering. Look at the back springs. Look at those beautiful rat tail bolsters and the profile that knife cuts with those bolsters and the way that those back springs come together and that center wedge terminates. This knife is delicate. It is precise. It is pristine. Let's take a look. Look at how close these blades are. I'm going to get rid of these tubes for a second. Get rid of the American Whittler. Look how close everything is here. And you'll not find a rub mark on any of these three blades. And I've been carrying this knife every day and using it. The secondary blades are so closely nestled against those brass liners that Rob, the caveman that does the tanging and hafting, tells me that there's about room for a human hair between those secondary blades and the liner. Now these are not the most robust whittlers. The Geppetto Whittler from Great Eastern Cutlery, the number 57 platform, a little stubbier. The secondaries are a little beefier. The bolsters are a little larger. Not quite as precise as these knives. But this is a tribute to Grinling Gibbons. You know, this is the kind of a whittler a gentleman might use on the front porch after church on Sunday. Carving up a piece of soft pine in an intricate way. Just look at that delicate, gorgeous, perfectly proportioned little pen blade. Yeah, you know, one of these knives is going to be a safe queen. And one of them is going to be a carry knife. So I only sharpened one. Which knife do you think makes the better carry knife? Yeah, I think so too. That plain but elegant Titty-Ute. That satin blade, if it gets scratched up, you just resatin it. Works great. This one is very, very rare. One of 25 pieces in a deep chestnut, peach seed jigged bone, and some of the most intricate, gorgeous peach seed jig bone I've ever seen. With that old Remington style shield, rat tail bolsters. That's a lined bolster with a little wider, more of a trough shaped line. Amazing. This one's going to be passed down to posterity. This one's going to be the user. And let's just take a look at some of those things that make Great Eastern Cutlery, and everybody else not. Take a look at that plunge grind, that sharp 90-degree plunge, the perfectly executed sharpening notch that lets you get all the way to the base of the edge, straight and true, and that gorgeous tip. Nobody does it like GEC, do they? Crisp and sharp. And if you watched my tour video, you know why. Those tip protectors and how long they stay on. The pull on this main blade, about a 7. And probably 4s on the secondaries. Just very light. but still with excellent walk and talk. Guys, this thing is pure luxury. Pure luxury. At just over $100. Are you kidding me? That's insane. Take a look at the machine swedges. Nice and symmetrical. Terminating perfectly. The satin just beautiful. Now here are the differences in these two knives. Of course, satin blade, polished blade. Let's take a look at that blade polish. Wipe. Look at that. Just perfectly consistent. Lose it a little bit in the plunge. Nothing you can do about that. You see no grind marks anywhere. This being the Northfield, sorry I misidentified this blade as having a machine swedge. This has a hand-drawn swedge on the clip blade. See the difference. The Northfield knife has the machine swedge with the plunge. And again, let's look. So you've got a plunge that makes it through to the spine back here at the base of the tang, and then where the machine swedge is, both nicely symmetrical. Just great work. Let's talk about the finishing of the knife. Look how beautifully colored the spine is. You'll notice no brass liners on the American Whittler. This is an all steel knife, so bolsters and liners are steel. Transitions, normally an area of some concern in a GEC knife. These are perfect. If I remember right, there was one corner on my, this corner right here on my ebony titty. You can just feel a little bit. That's the only one out of the 8. And it's really not a problem. It's really not. Oh, they're so beautiful. Guys, this is the kind of knife that you have in your pocket and you know it's in there, and it makes you feel just a little better than you would without it. And then you pull it out to use it, and that no half stop main blade just comes out like butter. Snaps open with the authority of a double spring Whittler. Just a beautiful thunk when opening and a beautiful snick when closing. Everything's so beautifully consistent. One thing that I think a lot of guys might overlook on these, I've got that old Queen built Northwoods Whittler that was built in about 2005 when Bill Howard was at Queen. But Bill was a victim of the production floor. He was the designer, but they didn't execute like this knife is executed. That knife has tiny little shallow nail nicks, especially on the secondaries. And you have to do a sort of formal Whittler open like this, open the main and then the secondaries to avoid rub, because you have to push against those secondaries inward to get a good bite with your fingernail. Not so on these. These nicks are deep and square cut. You can really get in there and lift that knife straight out, so you don't have to push it into the main blade, so you don't need to open them that way. They just come out with no rub so beautifully. And look at this. Remember when we were taking the tour, we talked about grinding the kicks. That's one of the things that Bill did. This is the kick. This is what positions the knife vertically in the handle when closed. And take a look. You saw him grind these on a wheel. And the secondary blades, I didn't even notice it at the time. They have what's called a hidden kick. The kick isn't out here. It's back here. He had to grind those, and look how close they come to the surface of the bolsters. Not a nick in any bolster. That is the hand of a master. You know, the Whittler is a pattern that very few knife companies have the wherewithal, the expertise, the patience to do, and do for a sensible price and still make a profit. And I don't know if GEC is making any money on these knives or not. They are, like I said, a statement knife. Nobody else can do this, guys. Case can't do it. They're not building split back Whittlers at all anymore. Queen sure can't do it. Nobody can do it. Bill Howard can do it. And he has a beautifully trained workforce of expert cutlers and artisans who can do it. And it's special. This is technology that started, or skill and a trade that started to disappear 100 years ago or so. And he has revived it. You've heard me say this. He's the greatest conservator of the traditional knife industry and craft that we have. And we need to thank him for being so wonderful at what he does. A couple things I want to go over before we end this video. My Gebon ebony knife I purchased from Mike Latham at collectorknives.net, who has these gorgeous new slim fold-over style Tuscany leather pocket slips. And he sent me one with my Whittler. It fits beautifully snugly in there. It will not come out. Takes a bit of a pinch at the bottom to get it started. So thanks for that, Mike. I really appreciate it. And man, are they beautiful. Edges beautifully finished. It is a slip worthy of this knife. So I wanted to mention that, and thanks for that, Mike. I really appreciate it. And then I wanted to talk about this American Whittler project, so to speak. I'm going to leave the tube here. I think I'm going to leave the tube here. Maybe I'll do it this way. Yeah, let's do it that way. And I'm going to read you the letter that Roy sent with the knife, because it's pretty neat. He says, the idea for the American Whittler website is something that I've been thinking about for quite a while. I have a long-held interest in older Whittler knives. In their day, they represented the height of craftsmanship for many of the companies that helped to build our country. I wanted to have a place that we could exchange our thoughts, knowledge, and ideas about these knives. So what you see now is the birth of such a website, and I apologize for its current form. It's just getting started, guys. At least the ball is rolling now. It should get better from here. To kick off this event, I worked with Great Eastern Cutlery to produce a fine Whittler. Great Eastern is by far the best at making knives the way they used to be made. I don't mean by using machines that are powered by water wheels. I mean making slip joint knives that walk and talk like they are supposed to, that have handles made from the finest bone and stag, and most of all have the lines and proportions that make these types of knives look good. So I feel extremely blessed that I was able to work with GEC to bring this knife, the American Whittler Exchange Knife #1, to the website's kickoff. Great Eastern provided a nice label for the tube and included a small extra in recognition of our beginning. Now, a word or two about this knife. It is a Whittler, so it has 3 blades. The knife is 3.875 inches long closed, so it's not a small knife. It's one you can get your hands around to do some real work. The liners and bolsters are made from low carbon steel, much like many of the older knives. The blades are made from 1095 steel and heat treated to bring out the best in cutting ability. Like many of the traditional Whittlers, it has a tapered center spacer between the back springs, also made from low carbon steel. The shield chosen is one that was used many years ago and appeared on many Remington knives. The blades bear the Northfield trademark. Also, like many Whittlers of old, only the smaller blades have half stops. The master blade does not. The master blade opens and closes with a nice smooth action without dead spots or pauses. The bone on this knife is fantastic. I'm really amazed at how nice it turned out. It's chestnut colored jigged bone, but the jigging is really fine and seems to follow the shape of the knife. It makes this knife quite unique. You have to see it for yourself. Great job, Great Eastern. I trust you will enjoy owning this knife. Many thanks for bearing with me as this website comes together. When the opportunity presents itself, there should be another unique knife offering here. Check the website often and see what's going on once it gets better. Sincerely, Roy. And then a nice little personal note. Thanks for your purchase, Rob. Thanks for the letter, Roy. That's going to stay with this knife forever. And Roy talked about a little extra. What's our little extra? That is the proper way to open a GEC tube, by the way. Well, here it is right here. It's the American Whittler pen, number 38. Now, Roy alluded to something about the shape of the knife. Not only is it a beautiful shape, but look at it in hand. Notice how these secondary blades are clear back here by your two smallest fingers, and in gripping and using the knife, you don't even feel them, which is a big plus of a Whittler over a jack, because in a jackknife where both blades pivot at the same end, you've got the sharp corner of the tang of the secondary blade sort of pinching your finger, digging into you a little bit. Not so with a Whittler. That's, other than the fact that it has great prowess at whittling, it makes it a great all-purpose knife. But not a knife that, you know, back in the day a lot of people could afford to carry because they're really expensive to make. So I am blessed to have you guys as viewers and sharpening customers to make me, who's a pretty normal average guy, able to own these things. Just over $100-ish buys you a TheApostleP version of the 38, and I think I paid like $125 for one of 25 pieces of Roy's American Whittler. Guys, that's an amazing value. I can't even tell you. I've handled some sort of mid-tech traditionals. You know, the one that jumps to mind is the Tony Bose 3-blade lockback Whittler. And frankly, although it's a more complex knife, from a fit and finish quality standpoint, can't hold a candle to these. They're just amazing. Now the Grinling Whittler is going to come out. I think there's going to be more than just this one SFO. I think Derek Bone at Knife Ship Free has some camel bone SFO 38 Whittlers in stock, and I think there are several cover materials available in the TheApostleP. There's a kryptonite acrylic, there's an old green bone, there's some stag coming out now, Chechen rosewood. They're probably not going to be fast sellers because they're a little bit expensive, and they're not, you know, sort of the next new thing. They're kind of an old pattern that some of the younger collectors haven't warmed up to yet. They will. Trust me, they will. So if this knife sort of interests you, and it should, even if you're very new to this traditional knife hobby, as you get into it, you're going to be happy you have one of these. They're just so intricate, so special. Don't know if Roy has any of these left. You are free to email him, though. If you get on AmericanWhitler.com, his email address is there. And at your favorite traditional knife purveyor, you should be able to find some TheApostleP 38s. Buy them, guys. We need to support Bill and William and Chris and Rob and Patty and Luann and Nancy and all the folks at GEC. And especially Dick, who's been doing it forever. That's all for this labor of love video, and I thank you guys for watching it. I'm in love. So grace to you and peace, my friends, from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. And remember, the Word and Patty's knives are sharp.